You start to see life differently when you stop operating like everyone else and begin to guard the one thing that can never be replaced: your interior world. The average man exposes himself so easily because he believes expression is strength, but in reality, it is exposure. He leaks his purpose trying to be understood. He leaks his vision trying to be validated. He leaks his identity trying to be seen. And slowly, without even noticing, he becomes emotionally bankrupt because every piece of himself he gave away was sold to minds too shallow to protect it. Schopenhauer understood this deeply. The world inside you is not a small thing. It is the source of all your reality. Your interpretation is your existence. Your perception is your real universe, which is why you must treat your inner world like a private sovereign territory, not a public spectacle. When you stop revealing everything, you begin to feel a strange sense of power rise inside you. You start to see how silence forces other people to bend toward your center instead of you bending toward theirs. You stop needing to explain yourself. You stop needing to convince anyone. You stop needing to defend your direction. People start sensing that you know something they don't, even if you said absolutely nothing. Your lack of reaction becomes intimidation. Your unspoken thoughts become mystery. Your controlled internal state becomes leverage. Because no one can fight a man they cannot access. No one can defeat a man whose mind is closed off to their reach. No one can manipulate a man whose psychology is locked in disciplined secrecy. The men who speak the least often have the deepest oceans beneath them. They learned early that nothing attracts parasites like transparency. When you openly display your plans, the weak attempt to sabotage them. When you reveal your insecurities, the cruel attempt to weaponize them. When you explain your philosophy, the ignorant attempt to ridicule it. So the evolved man realizes something. Most people don't want to understand him. They want to categorize him. They want to reduce him to something small, something familiar, something predictable. Your silence forces them to fail, because no one can shrink what they can't outline. You speak less, not because you are shy, but because you are internally wealthy. You learned that the more self-control a man has over his speech, the more psychological capital he preserves for strategy, focus, creation, execution. Silence turns into advantage. Silence turns into depth. Silence turns into mystique. And mystique turns into gravity. People begin orbiting around you trying to figure you out. They build theories about you. They project fantasies into the blank space where your words once lived. They fear what they cannot decode. They respect what they cannot read. They desire what they cannot fully possess. This is the hidden truth. When you stop revealing your inner world, people begin experiencing the world through you instead of inside you. Your quiet is not passive. It is calculated. It is alchemical. It is a weapon that works without you lifting a finger. Because the less you reveal, the harder you become to emotionally destabilize. You become immune to their opinions, immune to their misinterpretations, immune to their emotional expectations. You move like a shadow no one can pin down. You become a sovereign consciousness, self-contained, self-powered, self-governed. And in time you realize this. Mastery is not how loud you speak, but how little of yourself you give away. You begin to speak from completion instead of desire. You speak after decisions, not while still deciding. You speak after results, not while still dreaming. You speak from power, not from needing approval. Your interior becomes a sacred temple where you build silently, reflect silently, and evolve silently. And only when the proof is unshakable in physical reality do you let the world see a fragment. Does this sound familiar? This is the psychology of the man who refuses to let the world infiltrate his mind. This is the birth of the unapproachable inner fortress. This is where your sovereignty begins, inside. Protect the interior first. Everything else flows from there. If you think that was eye-opening, stick around to find out what happens after you transcend. In The Alchemy of Lust, You'll be taken deep into the ancient and forgotten discipline of sexual transmutation, a principle once reserved for monks, warriors, kings, and creators. Now you learn the second half of this, not just the concealment, but the cultivation. Because silence without internal engineering is just emptiness. The real psychological power is when you withdraw your inner world from the noise and begin architecting it into something impenetrable. You don't just hide your thoughts, you refine them. You don't just protect your mind, you weaponize it. You turn your internal space into a private laboratory where your philosophies sharpen like blades, where your instincts grow precise, where your desire becomes fuel rather than distraction. Schopenhauer's genius wasn't isolation for isolation's sake. It was isolation as optimization, contemplation as construction, turning the inner world into something higher than society could interfere with. You start shaping yourself into a man who is so internally fortified that nobody's opinion can trespass and alter your direction. They cannot influence you because they cannot penetrate you. You operate from a silent center that cannot be moved by external noise, trends, emotional contagion, or societal pressure. You begin building a world inside yourself where your purpose, your strategy, your values, and your direction exist independent of the external market, independent of validation, independent of someone liking or disliking who you are. You no longer need applause to move forward. You become the self-engineering kind of man who moves because the vision commands motion, not because the world understands it. You start to realize that most men fail not because they lack talent, but because they talk too early, too loud, too openly. They leak the vital mental nutrients of ambition before those ideas could fully crystallize. They abort their dreams by revealing them too soon to minds too small to carry them. You deny the world this access now. You stop giving them early drafts of your destiny. You only present finished manuscripts after they've been forged in solitude, in contemplation, in silence. And this makes you untouchable. Your silence now becomes the environment where your imagination evolves free from contamination. Your ideas mature in controlled conditions, no doubt injected, no jealousy inserted, no mockery polluting the soil. And this internal maturation becomes the multiplier. The world gets the final form, never the blueprint. They get the result, never the reasoning. They see the victory, never the vulnerable process that built it. This is how you preserve energy. This is how you preserve aura. This is how you preserve momentum. You become a myth while still alive because nobody knows where your power comes from. Your genius becomes invisible, but undeniable. They see the outcome, but they can't track the route you took. Eventually you become unreachable, not because you isolated from the world physically, but because you no longer live psychologically inside it. You live above it. You observe it like a philosopher, but you are no longer emotionally enslaved by it. Your inner world becomes a kingdom they cannot storm, a cathedral they cannot vandalize, a vault they cannot force open. And this is the final elevation. Not to be silent just to appear mysterious, but to be silent because your mind has ascended to a plane where speech is used strategically, not socially. Where you do not speak to be seen, you speak to direct reality. Where you do not talk to connect with the common, you talk to influence the future. So from this moment forward, build your inner world like a fortress of rare philosophy, guarded by silence, reinforced with self-control, and fueled by the discipline of a man who no longer needs permission to think, to act, or to become. And if you want to go deeper into this level of self-sovereignty, masculine psychological engineering, lust mastery, and internal weaponization, then be sure to join our free newsletter. We will help you expand this to the highest level. Because this path is not for the loud men of the world, it is for the few men who understand the true game is not external dominance, it's internal sovereignty. Thus remember, we are Indecepta. The Crusaders Bundle. 4 ruthless lessons. 1 unbreakable code. For a limited time, Claim all 4 Indecepta audiobooks for the price of 3. Step inside the private archive of discipline, power, and psychological warfare. Where lust is conquered, the mind is weaponized, and legacy is forged. Don't just listen. Arm yourself. Indeceptions.com